to look at. And then this right here, Bob Thompson sent me a text on this. This is the audio. Andrew Marchand and John Alrand have their sports business journal, and they discuss college football. There's still out there the discussion about the Pac-12 or the Big 12 or everything else. We're going to get to some audio on that in just a second.
Well, Marchand's with the New York Post, Alrand Sports Business Journal. They've come together to do a podcast together.
Yeah, it's a great
because basically sports media is like the new hip thing. You know, it's like when you saw all these folks, all of a sudden they had NIL jobs. You know, like a year ago, it was like all of a sudden everybody's like NIL reporter or NIL this or NIL that. That's basically sports business now. It's like everybody's becoming a sports business person. So they're really on the forefront of that and have been. I know Marchand in particular, and Alrand too. I've been reading their stuff for a long time, but they came together almost like superpowers to do a sports media podcast, and they have dipped it a lot into the college football arms race in terms of these TV deals. So, yeah.
And here's part of their conversation, and this is Marchand from the New York Post on this podcast with John Alrand, and kind of listen to what he says, but then at the end, listen to what John Alrand says as well.
I think the Pac-12 and ESPN, hundreds of millions of dollars apart. They are not even close. So that is going to be interesting where that goes in terms of negotiations and will teams jump? Because when you're that far apart, that means something has to happen. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't have information on this, but something just maybe a little conjecture. Do one of the digital players get involved with the Pac-12, right? Apple, for example, loves to buy everything and then sell subscriptions. And they did that with the MLS. The Pac-12 just had this problem of not being, with the Pac-12 network, and you couldn't find it. And it's, obviously not as successful as the ones that partnered with Fox or ESPN. But money talks. And if Apple can make the case that we're going to pay you, we're going to bundle the Pac-12, and they can get the money that they're looking for, maybe they come into the picture. But right now, the issue for the Pac-12 and perhaps the Big 12 as well is just leverage, right? They've already spent a lot of money. So I think that doesn't mean a deal won't happen, but they're going to somehow have to strengthen their hand if you're both, especially the Pac-12, I think. The Big 12 has already expanded a little bit, and I think they could try to pick off some Pac-12 teams. So that is something to watch for our college football fans out there.
Yeah, I would be absolutely, I want to upgrade shocked. Gobsmacked? Is that more than shocked? I would be gobsmacked if ESPN doesn't find out a way to do a deal with the Pac-12.
All right, so that's Marchand and also John Alrand. Hundreds of millions. Now, Bob Thompson answered some questions. He's going to be on with us today at 4, former Fox president, sports president. And he said the hundreds of millions could be not 1 year. Because if their deal is like $300 million over 10 years or $300 million divided by the 10 teams or whoever's left, you're not talking about hundreds of millions. It's not like they expected 800 or 900 million. He looked at, someone asked this question, could it be over multiple years, 6, 7, 8, how many years? And that maybe makes more sense. We'll ask Bob about that today as well. I want to get to another story about ESPN. ESPN executive Jimmy Pitaro, who is kind of running their deal, said he is willing to be flexible with the rights to college football's postseason now that the format is expanding, a move that's likely to require broadcasters to pay even more in fees to air the games.
Oh, I wonder why he's in favor. The big network exec is open to making more money.
Tripling the number of teams if it does end up at 12. We've been clear to anyone who is interested that we are very willing to be flexible here and be creative in terms of this expansion. So that opens up door for more money and the possibility of, okay, do they give games away or at least sell games away? The rights to Fox, as far as that's concerned, and Bob Thompson will give us some information and insight on that too.
It's amazing how flexible everybody is also when the money conversation starts. And I'm just reminded of something John McClain, legendary, Houston Chronicle reporter now at Gallery Sports. He said something one time, and it's just stuck with me ever since. everything's about the money. And I know that's like an obvious statement to make, and there's probably people going, look, of course, yeah, duh. But, I mean, literally everything just goes back to the money. Whether it's a contract holdout or it's this or it's that, 99.9% of the time it's about the money. And so with the college football playoff and realignment and all that, I mean, it's just been money plays. So, yeah, they see a chance to strike gold basically with an expanded playoff, and everybody's all of a sudden on board. I don't think that's all that surprising that they're awakening to the idea of kind of what they would be leaving out on the table if they were to do anything different and try to keep forcing this 4-team playoff, until it's last couple of years, and then try to redo it. Why not redo it right now when you know that the interest is high and the iron's hot? So, yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
And Bob Thompson, again, can give us his experience of what he thinks. Not what he knows, but what he thinks as well. One